Hey everybody, welcome back to Bixby's Beer Reviews. Great to see you again. Today we're going to be checking out a beer from the folks at Bluejacket in Washington, D.C. This is their Love Language English Bitter Ale. English Bitter, sometimes also called English Pale Ale or English Pub Ale, is maybe not the most common beer in England anymore, but I tend to think of it as the most English beer. It actually comes in three strengths. If you go by the official guidelines, you have your ordinary bitter, which is a very low ABV beer. You have your best bitter, which is probably about where this is coming in at 4.8%, which is a little bit higher ABV, a little bit more character. And then there's the strong bitter, something like maybe a Fuller's ESB would be the typical example. But the name bitter, a little bit of a misnomer, and I think it's why you sometimes see the other names, because it's not an especially bitter beer. It's not an IPA. This is what you would call a session beer. And what do I mean by a session beer? When we're talking about a session beer, we're talking about a beer where you're going to have at least one and probably two or three at one time. It's got to be lower ABV, a little bit drier, a little bit lighter, so you can pack in a few more. And it's definitely a beer for being at the pub or wherever your watering hole is, even if that's someone's backyard barbecue. It's a beer for drinking with the boys, the fellas, the lads, the crew, whoever your people are. And I don't mean to be a gender essentialist, whether you're a guy, a gal, or a non-binary pal, if you're drinking a bitter in that moment, you are a lad. Also, I don't know if any of y'all watched the Euros this summer, or you're going to be checking out any of the soccer going on come the fall. But this is definitely a beer for drinking, preferably in your local pub with your lads, yelling at whichever wanker you got coaching your favorite team as he makes a hash of things. It's a great beer for getting together with. So let's crack it open and take a look. Now, as I said, this is a session beer. You don't need any particular special glassware for it, although something large is probably the order of the day. So let's get in here and take a look at the appearance. You'll notice a couple things right off the bat. It has a sort of a deep orange, almost a little bit brown color. What you're seeing is a mix of British pale malts, which are actually a little bit usually darker than their American or continental counterparts. You're also going to see some what we call caramel or crystal malts in here, which are darker kiln malts, which tend to bring some of the more sweet character of barley malt to the fore. Some bitters even use actually a little bit of darker malt than that to get this little extra bit of color. But that's going to give us a key to the types of malt flavors we get here. This also, again, very fluffy, very persistent head. Bluejacket always really nails the carbonation of their beers. They got a production facility in DC that I've had the players that are visiting before. They do great work there. So that's what our beer looks like. Let's give it a smell. So for being a beer that's under 5% and that's very sessional, you still get a ton of character here. And for this one, it's a very balanced aroma between some hop aromas and some malt aromas. The first thing you sort of get is, again, from what we saw with the appearance, it's a slightly almost fruity sweet malt flavor. A little bit maybe like a caramel or a toffee, but the fruit here more is almost sort of an apple and a pear. And that's something that's characteristic not just of the type of malts that a lot of British beers use, but also of a lot of the British yeast strains, which tend to be a little bit fruitier than American strains, which tend to ferment a little bit cleaner. And on the other hand, with the hops, British hop varieties are very distinctive, and you get a kind of an earthy, woody, not quite pine rising-y note, but it makes me think of, the forests of Arthurian legend. It's a very distinctive hop aroma that I don't think you get with some of the more trendy, New Zealand and American hops that tend to emphasize citrus fruit, tropical fruit, or big resinous pine flavors. It's more of a subtle, earthy, kind of woody note. UK hops also just have the most fun names. There's Challenger, East Kent Goldings, which all sound very distinguished, and then there's Fuggles. So you know what a Fuggle is? I don't know why they picked that one. Anyways, moving on, let's give this beer a taste. Smooth, rich in character, very easy to drink. This is when you get to the ordinary bitter. Some of the ones that go stronger, above 5%, might tend to be a little bit more robust. But this one, it's easy to drink, and it's very well balanced between some real robust flavors here. We're getting, again, a lot of a caramelly kind of sweet note of malt, balanced well by the sort of the appley yeast character we're getting from the British yeast. And that's well balanced by a moderate hop bitterness, and again, those sort of earthy, foresty hop flavors. So it's a very well balanced beer, and again, it finishes medium dry. It's easy to drink. It's not going to be hard to put away more than a few pints of these, especially if you're hooting and hollering at the TV, following along your favorite football club. Great job, Bluejacket. Really love this example. Love to have another session beer in my toolkit from when I'm hanging out with friends. Now that's something we can do again, and so if that's something you're interested in, this is a great one to check out. So thanks for joining me again here on the BBR. As always, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that little bell down there if you want to know when the next one of these is coming out. And in the comments, let me know if there's any type of beer you want me to try, and I'll put it up here. So we'll see you next time.